Hare Krishna, everybody. Happy Kartik. What an amazing time to have a Prabhupada Memoirs. And I'm so fortunate that we have Her Grace Visakha Dasi with us right now. And, before we talk to her herself, I just want everybody to know, those that don't know who she may be, let me let you know. And I'll be saying, where have you been? Because, she's one person that's so known internationally. She is spent a lot of time with Srila Prabhupada as his personal photographer in the early 1970s. She's also, an avid writer for the Back to Godhead magazine. And in more recent years, she has assisted her husband, Yadubhai Das, in producing the award-winning film, Hare Krishna, the Mantra and the Movement, and the Swami Who Started It All. And her book as well, she's written 11 Months and a Lifetime of Unexpected Love, which is a memoir which she depicts her time spent with Srila Prabhupada. And it has had amazing reviews. And in most recent years, I was even fortunate for the Pandavasena retreat that happened last year, which feels like a lifetime away in New Mayapur. You came and you graced your presence and gave us so many amazing talks on Srila Prabhupada and your pastimes. And now you are the temple president of Bhaktivedanta Manor, the ISKCON headquarters in the UK. And we are so privileged to have you on today. So thank you for coming on and thank you for joining us. And just want to start, how are you today?
Very well, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. I feel very honored to be in your company.
No, pleasure to all ours. Thank you so much. And I just want everybody to know this is an interactive session as well. We got some amazing things lined up. Please do not go away. And if you have questions, then bring them on. And then I will try to facilitate where I can to take that forward. But I want to just start with a lot of us, as you know, we do this Prabhupada Memoirs because we haven't had the association directly of Srila Prabhupada. And bringing on direct disciples such as yourself, it's an honor for us to hear directly from yourself those pastimes. And I would really like to start, first of all, if I may, is how did your Krishna conscious life start? Back in the early 70s, 60s, when you came into Krishna consciousness. How did that start, please?
Yeah, let me first offer my obeisances to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskyata Deshatarane Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So thank you again for inviting me. I'm so grateful to have your company and to have to be invited in this very illustrious assembly. My journey to Krishna consciousness was quite unusual because I was born of atheistic parents and brought up as an atheist. So my whole first 20 years of my life, I never went to any church or temple or synagogue or any religious institution at all. And not only was I an atheist, but I was quite critical of theists. I thought that they were quite sentimental, that they couldn't face the hard facts of life. So I was not looking actually for spiritual life. But at the same time, even though I was successful in my chosen profession, photography, I was doing well in college and I had published a book on photography at age 19. So people expected me to be quite a shining star in that field. And yet I had within myself, I had a certain hollowness that I couldn't identify, but was quite prevalent. because I saw the emptiness of these kind of achievements that I was trained to want. So it was that environment that Srila Prabhupada, by his extraordinary mercy, entered and filled that hollowness with Krishna and with the Vaishnavas.
Wow. So atheistic background, and then now you're now helping lead the ISKCON movement, Bhaktivedanta Manor. So it definitely has some powerful. Srila Prabhupada has some amazing power. You could see that. And can I ask, when you decided to join the Krishna conscious movement at that time, was there any type of aspect you're thinking, because you must have met Srila Prabhupada at that point, or did you meet Srila Prabhupada at that time, first time, or was it, how did that first contact with Srila Prabhupada happen with yourself?
I had a friend in college who had decided to make his master's thesis. He was working on his master's thesis, and he made it the Hare Krishna people. And he went to India with the first group of devotees. He joined the first group of devotees that had gone to India with Srila Prabhupada in 1970. And from India, he wrote to me and invited me to come also.
Wow.
So on the basis of that invitation, I went to India in early 1971. So at that time, I met the devotees there and Srila Prabhupada. And that was my initial introduction through this friend who is now my husband, Yadabar.
Wow, there we go, everybody. Now you know how they met. And now, of course, in 71, you were trying to do the, photography was your area. And then how did that happen? I gather initiation happened in close to that time as well, before going into photography, and doing that service. So what about your initiation day itself? Could you describe that to us, and how that was feeling, and how it was to take initiation by Srila Prabhupada?
Well, prior to initiation, I must say that both my then boyfriend, now husband, and I had this fascination with photography. And we wanted to photograph an quaint Indian village where they didn't use any modern machinery, but just depended on the animals and their own labor and the beautiful produce of the earth to have a healthy and fulfilling life. And our difficulty was that we didn't know which Indian village to go to, because there are thousands of Indian villages. So we thought, well, Prabhupada has traveled throughout India, and we'll ask him where we should go. So we did this. This is after the first Pandal in Bombay. Pandal was a huge program in the public where 10,000 people would come daily, and on the weekends, many more than that. So that had just ended. I was in March of 1971, and we went to Prabhupada's room and presented this idea to him and asked him where we should go to photograph. So he looked at us with a mixture of amusement and gravity. And he said, wherever you do not speak the language, wherever you go, they will simply cheat you and steal your cameras. He was a very practical person, Srila Prabhupada, a very realistic person. So we were quite deflated, and he paused. It was what they call a pregnant pause. And he said, best that you go to Vrindavan and do your photography in Vrindavan. So we did that, not right away, but a little while later we did that. So there I was, a very convinced atheist in Vrindavan for a month. And at that time, we only found 1 or 2 residents that spoke English, and we didn't speak enough Hindi to converse. So the experience I had was very much the environment of faith that Vrindavan was imbued with. And I went to Vrindavan as an atheist, and I left a month later as a theist.
Wow.
And that was based simply on Prabhupada's very first instruction to us, to me. My husband had received other instructions, but to me that was the very first one. And looking back on it now, almost 50 years later, there could not have been a better instruction for me than that one. And Prabhupada didn't know me. So it was quite amazing. It is quite amazing that of all the things he could have said, he said that, and it had such an impact on me.
My God. And it really changed your life.
Changed my life, yes.
So from that point, so where did your initiation happen then? Was it in Vrindavan itself, or was it?
Yeah. What happened was, after Vrindavan, we were invited to go to the Calcutta temple
Okay.
to help put together a all India Vyasa Puja book for Srila Prabhupada in August of 1971. And although by that time I had some interest in spiritual life and Krishna consciousness, Calcutta was an extremely difficult temple to live in. The devotees were not healthy. They were not getting along well. Jayapataka Swami was the temple president, and he spent most of his time studying Bengali, which he did very successfully. But it was a very strained time. So although I was ready for spiritual life, I was not ready for the Calcutta temple version of spiritual life. And I kept thinking that I should really go back to college. I had only done 2 of the 4 years. But my god sister, Chitralekha, said, you can't leave now because Srila Prabhupada's coming. So it was not the Maha Mantra that kept me hanging on. It was that mantra. You can't leave now because Srila Prabhupada's coming. So finally he came, and he gave a very powerful Ishtagosti in his room in Calcutta, which is still the same place that it is now. And that impacted me very deeply. And from Calcutta, we went to Delhi, where we had a Delhi pandal that was extremely successful. Again, like Bombay, but even more so because we had so many very prominent public people come. The mayor of Delhi came, the High Commissioner to Canada came to introduce Srila Prabhupada and say positive things about his movement. So at the completion of that, Prabhupada took a few of us, there were only 20 or 30 devotees, to Vrindavan. That was November 1971, and it was there that I got initiated. And that was an extraordinary time because part of me was not ready and part of me was, and I just plunged in wholeheartedly, like jumping into a deep end of the pool, because Prabhupada was so compelling, and it was Vrindavan, which was so transforming. And so I took the plunge.
Well, that's definitely a plunge to take when you know what was going in your mind. I'm just very curious to understand, at this time, because you've gone from an atheist to a theist, then you've just traveled and going on the pandals to different places, ending up in November 1971 taking initiation. And everybody, just so you're all aware, this is not like 10 years, 5 years. This is like quite a quick succession into it, if I'm correct. So like, what was going through your minds? Like you mentioned a little bit, I'm just very interested to know, because you're getting pulled one way and the other. So can I please ask, just and probably inspire?
Well, from Prabhupada's very logical approach to Krishna consciousness, to spiritual life, that very much attracted me. Like, the logic of how we're not our body. We've all heard so many times. And also the logic of this material creation. There's such amazing symmetry to it. There's such incredible complexity. And to think it all came about by atoms combining, that became too far-fetched for me. Of course, it's fantastic to think that there's a person behind it all. But because that person is so warm and loving, accommodating, so reciprocal, the way I was understanding Krishna, it became so attractive. Whereas this idea of atoms combining to create this complexity, it was very dry. There was no warmth there. There was no love. There was no attraction. And it led to a very dismal outlook on life.
So it makes sense why to go on to taking the plunge from, that's what it sounds like. And what a plunge it has been, because you really have, Visakha Prabhu, you've done so much for our movement, and from Back to Godhead, doing the writing, being an avid writer, from capturing those amazing footages of Srila Prabhupada, and there's, by the way, what we're going to be showing is like a fraction of how many captures Visakha Prabhu's got. I'm sure we can, if we can do another session if she's happy, and we'll try and get a few more down. And also another part was that helping with this amazing Hare Krishna movie, documenting Srila Prabhupada, which Yaduba Prabhu, and you were yourself utilizing your, photographic skills and what to do, and making animation movements of Srila Prabhupada look like lifelike. I've seen that, and I was like, wow, just look the way he's slowly moving, and he's looking like he's coming to you. And all these little things just showed the amount of dedication and attention to detail, and how much through that you're showing your love for Srila Prabhupada, which is inspiring for all of us to see. So I'll just say thank you so much. And coming on to photography, because that is your passion of your life. Of course, Srila Prabhupada is, and so is photography. And can we see some of these? I'm sure everybody's so enticing. Maybe we'll go through some of them, what's happening in the pictures. If I could bring up for you, and then we can go through. So get ready, everybody. If you have any questions, I'm looking on the right-hand side. I can see people saying, amazing how the philosophy and Srila Prabhupada's association is so transformative. That's what we got. We had a point come here. We've got so many people coming, just writing, Hare Krishna, thank you so much. So just let it all come in. Please do. We'll try and see what we can bring up, but I'm going to bring up the slides now. So we're starting with this first picture. So we're in what's happening here? Visakha,
yeah, I was mentioning that after the Delhi Pandal, we all went to Vrindavan with Srila Prabhupada. We all means 20 or 30 of his followers. So Prabhupada was going by car, and we were going in a bus, but Prabhupada's car broke down. So the bus stopped, and Prabhupada climbed onto the bus, and he sat right at the head. You can see.
You can see him. That's him, isn't it? Right at the front.
That's Srila Prabhupada in the front of the bus, leading us on our journey from Delhi to Vrindavan in 1971.
That how was it in the as soon as they heard Srila Prabhupada's in the bus, did everybody start going quiet? How you just got your spiritual master in the bus with you all, like here, and it's so amazing to see that it's capturing Srila Prabhupada, his stature. You can see that Srila Prabhupada. So how was it for everybody else? Did everyone go quiet, or everyone was?
I think people started chanting more attentively when Prabhupada came on the bus. Yeah, as you say, the chit chat stopped. And the Mahamantra became more prominent and more focused in everyone's mind. That was the power of Prabhupada's presence.
Wow. And how long was this journey that you were all on, that you got this close proximity to Srila Prabhupada for this journey? How long did that take? Can you remember?
The bus ride itself?
Yeah. Yes.
It was a long bus ride, because the roads were so much in disrepair that we couldn't go too fast. Even going slowly, it was very bumpy, and the seats were not soft, so it was rather austere for us.
I can see, actually, you can see, if everyone looks very carefully, look at the back of the seats. You know how in the coaches we have today, we have nice soft furnishings. Here you can see the metal trim of the actual seats. They look like they're just been plonked in. So wow. So that's really nice. So you're going here. So the destination here is to go to one pandal. Is that right?
The pandal in Delhi had finished, and Prabhupada was taking us, his followers, from Delhi to Vrindavan just for a short visit right after the pandal. This was the first Delhi pandal.
Fantastic. And I can see you got another picture in there as well. I'm just trying to.
Yeah, should we move on?
Yeah, let's check that. Let's see this picture.
This works.
You just have to just click as you would do. Yes.
So
Oh, I wonder who that is on the left-hand side.
her name is Madhira. She was the wife of Tejas, who was the temple president in Delhi for some time. Madhira.
And the Prabhu on the right, who's the...
His name is Narayan. He was, Prabhupada nicknamed him Vishvakarma because he was very good in creating things like Rath Yatra carts and Vyasasans and so forth. Carpenter.
And they've got Srila Prabhupada. They're carrying him like in a palanquin.
We went to visit Varshana.
Yes.
Prabhupada took us to Varshana, and of course there are many, many steps going up. So they have this palanquin for people that don't want to climb so many steps. And the devotees decided that they should carry the palanquin, but they didn't have the technique down. So Prabhupada, you can't see it here, but he was swaying from side to side quite a bit. So after a short time, he asked the professional palanquin carriers to replace the devotees because they knew how to do it so that he would not be moved around quite so much.
You know what's brilliant here is like in today's time when we've got like our cameras and we there's movement happening. Even in digital world, we sometimes get blurriness. But here, you've taken a picture and you've of course used, I'm sure it's camera film if I'm correct, and you've still got it quite crystal clear photo here. This has not been edited, has it? This is the actual photo. Just.
No, I mean, before digital came along, there were lots and lots of crystal clear photographs.
So it shows my, naivety when it comes to my father right now will be saying, can't you remember how much I used to use film and use these different cameras? And there you're saying this. No, fantastic. So you went to Vaishana. So it's like you're doing a bit of a parikram from what I can see here.
Yeah, Prabhupada organized it so we could see the exceptional holy places in Vrindavan area.
Wow. Actually, how apt is this for Kartik right now? We got you're talking about Vrindavan. We got Vraj Mandal Parikram happening. His Holiness Lokanath Swami Maharaj, part of Padayatra Ministries organizing. I know at the School of Bhakti, they're doing a nice 5-minute inspiration every day on WhatsApp. So please join those sections where we can get this. And here we are talking about Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan on Kartik, on the first day of Kartik. So it wasn't planned, everybody.
Not by us, anyway.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, and I can see when you were taking these photos, I have one question, because when you are going different places, and there's not much health and safety in these areas. And I remember walking up this area where you are, and it's quite dangerous. And then you got people maybe pushing, etc. So how much camera equipment were you carrying? Was it just one thing, or did you have different lenses and to get these shots? And did you not get scared at times when you take what's happening around me, because you're looking through? I'm just very curious on that, if you don't mind.
I had 2 camera bodies and about 3 different lenses with me, so I could switch lenses very easily just by switching the cameras. So in that way I could prepare for different distances and close-ups and so forth. And of course we were trained. I majored in photography, photojournalism in college, so we were trained to be aware of what's around us so that we don't get, at least we try not to get hurt by the circumstances we're in.
Wow. So no, at least you're trained photographers, so that's the reason. So everyone, don't try it at home. Don't carry 2 camera bodies and 3 lenses unless you know what you're doing, just so you're aware. So yeah, please, could we see the next?
So this is when the professional palanquin carriers took over. You can see on the left there is Tamal Krishna Maharaj. At this time he was still a Grihasta. And we're high up over the neighboring areas, way up on the hill by Barsana.
Oh, that's beautiful. And you can see the places below, if I'm correct. Because you see them all colored blue, if I'm right. They paint them quite nice light blue color. the houses I'm talking about at the bottom of the
Oh.
village. But I can't. Of course, it's black and white. No, fantastic. How did the servants feel actually? Because they were taking Srila Prabhupada up, and then it's like, okay, thank you, but let the professionals take over. They must
Well,
have.
it was Prabhupada's instruction to them, so they couldn't do much. They had to, and they realized, especially the devotee who was carrying the palanquin in the back, that there was a lot of swaying, and it was not very comfortable or even safe for Srila Prabhupada. So, yeah, it's best to let the people who are experienced and knowledgeable do those services. Yeah, for sure.
And here I can see.
So, yeah, this is in the Radha Damadar temple where Srila Prabhupada lived for a number of years before he came to America. And at this time, he was also living there. This is Shamsundar and Malati's daughter, Saraswati.
Saraswati.
Yes, yeah. Shamsundar is behind her, and behind him is Malati.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then the head pujari of the temple, Gorachand, he's between Shamsundar and Srila Prabhupada.
We've got some. So if Saraswati seems like such a young child at that time, and then walking everywhere. And I did hear from Malati Prabhu that Srila Prabhupada had a strong affection for Saraswati.
Oh, yes. When Malati Prabhu brought Saraswati to Montreal, when they're on their way, the 6 couples plus Saraswati were on their way to England, and Prabhupada saw her. He said that he had a dream about her. He had a dream about that little girl. At that time, she was 6 weeks old. So they had a very wonderful relationship. Prabhupada would sometimes tease her and play with her. He was very attentive and loving towards Saraswati. Oh. At one point, she had a little altar in the veranda in the Calcutta temple, and she would offer a ghee lamp and offer flowers. And Prabhupada's room was adjoining the veranda. And she at one point went in and she threw a fistful of petals at Srila Prabhupada, but they landed just in front of her. And Prabhupada looked at her and smiled, and he said, "Not so hard." And she would also come in with the ghee lamp that she had offered on the veranda to Radha and Krishna, and she would give it to Prabhupada so he could touch it to his head. And even if he was speaking to someone or taking prasadam, he would stop in order to touch this flame to his head that Saraswati was holding.
Such love Srila Prabhupada shows. It's just his attention to detail, like you just mentioned here, and some of the other disciples' pastimes. I'm just trying to remember one Prabhupada disciple. His mother came to see Srila Prabhupada, and straight away he just got up and goes, "Oh," and greeted her, and it was just he always knew how to be the perfect gentleman. Is what we were getting here. So thank you for sharing that. And we got the next photo. What's coming up? Let's have a look.
Yeah, this is the next year. This is 1972 during Kartik, when Prabhupada took a slightly larger group of devotees to Vrindavan, and he stayed in Vrindavan for the entire month of Kartik at that time. And he spoke every morning and evening in the courtyard of the Radha Damadar temple. So that's what he's doing here. He would sing Jai Radha Madhava first, and then give a discourse in the morning on Srimad Bhagavatam and the evening on Nectar of Devotion.
Wow. How many people would be gathering at this place usually?
Probably 25, perhaps.
Wow.
And the pilgrims would go around. They would circumambulate the Radha Damadar temple and also circumambulate Srila Prabhupada and all the devotees sitting there. And they would chant their famous Jai Radhe. And if you hear the recordings of these, they're all available. You can hear the parrots in the trees, and sometimes the monkeys making their special sound.
Wow. And I've just had a comment come through. Sonam says, look at that smile, so promising. So thank you, Sonam. We're getting a lot of comments. It's just so radiating, this smile. It reminds me, there's one photo that sticks in my mind, and it's where Srila Prabhupada's smiling and he's putting his fist up, like, you know, like it's a very cheeky one, but it really shows like a grandfather showing love to, you know, his children. I'll try and see if I can at some point bring that, but this picture reminds me of that. So it's so nice capturing the moments like so perfectly, Prabhu. So what else we got? I just want to see this. Yeah, and everybody, any questions, please do bring them on. This is very good. Oh, there's a question actually just on this. This is one. Sri Radha Madhava Ki Jai says, amazing recollections. Are all these photos in the book? Question mark. I don't know. Are you talking about the 5 years, 11 months, maybe? But is there, if people wanted to see these photos, are these in the book? Or are you thinking of creating something with a book with all these beautiful photos that you've taken?
Some are in the book, and all the rest are available at Bhaktivedanta Archives. And they have photographs not only from myself and my husband, but other photographers. There are about 3 or 4 photographers. So all those photographs are gathered and preserved at the Bhaktivedanta Archives in North Carolina.
Oh, wow. And they're thinking of trying to digitalize all of those, and so everyone can see.
Yes, they're very adept at making them digital, available digitally, available as prints. Fantastic. They also came out with a book of Srila Prabhupada's photographs, a coffee table-sized book. So they really want to get these photographs out to the devotees and the non-devotees as well.
Fantastic. This is good. So everybody head over to Bhaktivedanta Archives and check it out. And also, don't go yet. Go after this. But please do check this out. And also this book, just to come on, we just talked about 5 years, 11 months. This is the book that is a recollection of memories from Visakha Prabhu with her time with Srila Prabhupada. Maybe this might be a great chance to ask you, when writing this book itself, when you were putting it together, how did it come about? And is there any type of aspects to this book itself that really stands out to yourself, if I may ask that to share?
Yeah, sure. Many years before I started writing the book, one of my neighbors, a devotee, said to me, what was it really like to be with Srila Prabhupada? And that question became very much rooted in my mind. So when I thought of writing my memoir, I wanted to try to answer as best I could with the very limited English language and my limited ability to use the English language. But I did want to try to answer the question, what was it like to be with Srila Prabhupada? So that was certainly a motivating factor. And then also I really wanted to trace what had happened to me, because I had such an extraordinary paradigm shift from going from an atheist to a theist. So I wanted to see the various steps in that process and really relive them fully, because it was something that happened, and at the time, I wasn't thinking about it fully, I was experiencing it. So many years later, I wanted to actually thoroughly delve into it, that transformation. That was, the catalyst was Srila Prabhupada himself, and as we're saying, Vrindavan as well.
That's why we got Vrindavan. There's a temple there as well on the front cover. You must have had so many covers you could have used. That Pacific one, what was it that stood out for you on the 5 years, 11 months that we can see right now?
Well, the temple, Madan Mohan temple, of course, is emblematic of Vrindavan. and just the one lone lady there who's on the left.
Oh,
and
yes, in the red.
yeah, it's hard to see, it's small, but that I took the picture, but I felt that was emblematic of me, that I was entering this very transcendental Dham and really experiencing the faith that's permeates the Dham, also beginning to permeate my very hard heart.
So even the cover has such a deep story. Thank you so much. So if anybody wants this book, please, you can get it on Amazon. Just go to any of the Amazon platforms and just type in 5 years, 11 months, and it will come up. So that's where you can get these books. And thank you for sharing that. And I'm just going to quickly check through the questions as well, because we've got some questions here coming out. I'm just going to put it on. There's one here coming from Nanda Priya Prema Devi Dasi. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. If I'm not mistaken, you took a famous photo of Srila Prabhupada at San Francisco Rath Yatra. Could you please share any of the pastimes behind that photo? So first I want to ask, is that correct? You've got? And do you mind sharing some pastimes behind that photo? And I probably it might be maybe part of the list, I'm not sure, but I'll leave it to you. So yes, please, could you share?
So the San Francisco Rath Yatra that year was incredibly successful. Srila Prabhupada rode on the cart all the way through the streets of San Francisco and finally came to Golden Gate Park. And then they took the deities, the Jagannath deities, to the stage, and Srila Prabhupada's Vyasasan. And Srila Prabhupada got on the stage with all the devotees. So I started to climb the steps of the stage to photograph there. And someone was on the top step with his arms crossed, looking very official, a devotee, saying there are no women allowed on the stage. So I said that I'm Prabhupada's photographer. I'm traveling with him. He paid for my transportation here. The BBT is paying for my film and even my camera. I'm an authorized person. I should go on the stage. But this person was adamant. He would not bend an iota. So I climbed down the steps, and ordinarily I would find some other way to get on the stage. There must have been another entrance that I could have climbed up. But on this particular occasion, I became depressed because the first principle that we learned from Bhagavad Gita is we're not our bodies, that we're all meant to do devotional service. Here I was trying to do my service for Srila Prabhupada's pleasure and the pleasure of the devotees. And I was being stopped on the basis of this material, like that. The mind took off, in other words. So in that depressed state, I wandered out to the middle of the field in front of the stage where Prabhupada and the devotees were, and all the hundreds and hundreds of guests were in front of the stage. And I sat down on an empty chair with my head down, thinking all these thoughts, that this is such a material consideration, that I can't do my service, and on and on. And then the kirtan picked up unexpectedly. So I looked up, and Prabhupada had gotten off his Vyasasan and was throwing some roses to the people in the audience, the hundreds of people in the audience. And that he threw one rose, then he threw another rose, then he threw the whole bunch of roses, and then he put his arms up and started to dance in his very graceful way with his jumping. Yeah. So I stood up on the chair that I had been sitting on, and I took a series of pictures at that time, which have become famous in ISKCON. And then I realized after the fact that I could not have been in a better place to take pictures than the place that I was in. So it was quite a lesson for me. It was very humbling, actually, that I didn't have the perspective or the foresight to see that actually to be on the stage was not the place to be. And this whole scenario evolved to force me to be in the place that I was, which was the right place to be for photographs. So it was quite a lesson, that experience.
That lesson is something for all of us in a way, because sometimes in life, things will happen to us and we feel, why did this happen? And only later we realize that actually you were in the right place at the right time to something else that was meant to be there for you. So it's like this, what you're just telling us is just now just live that, an example of actually, if those things didn't happen, you wouldn't have got that amazing shot and you wouldn't have been in the right place right at the right time. So thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you for that question. And before we do move on, I know that we talked about you know, in a month, you transformed from atheist to theist. And there was a question that came up, and I just want to bring it before we go back into the photos, if you don't mind. One is, how did your parents react to you becoming a Hare Krishna devotee? This is asked by Devotee Dasi, Krishna Premavati, BCS.
Yeah, I was writing once in a long time. I would write to my parents from India. This is, of course, before the internet, before Zoom, before you could make phone calls back and forth between the two continents. So it would take 2 weeks for a letter to go from India to the US and from the US to India. And I didn't write very often because it was very hard to put into words what was going on in my heart and my mind. So when I finally did return to the US, they had a little inkling of what had happened, but not much. And they really could not relate to it. When I went home, you know, I had sari, I had tilak. And they thought that I was a brainwashed person who had joined a cult. They were not at all sympathetic. And they never asked anything about Krishna consciousness, anything about spiritual life, anything about what I went through. So there was really a chasm there in communication, unfortunately. But yeah, I found there was very little that I could do to bridge that chasm. I tried to be friendly. I tried to be warm to them, but there was just a gulf there that I could not cross, unfortunately.
No, but thank you for sharing. And it shows your determination to carry on, you know, on the path, which has lasted since then anyway. So thank you. I just wanted to, since we were looking at the photos, because we have a few more here. This one here, of course, Srila Prabhupada. And the same place. This is to do with doing the Vrindavan itself. And like you said, the 30 days when Kartik happened, he would give the discourses. Such a meditative mood. Any realizations on this photo for you and yourself?
Well, Prabhupada would not only sing Jai Radha Madhava, but when we returned the singing, when we responded, he would meditate on the words of it very deeply. He was really transported to Radha Madhava, to the kunjas, the bushes of Vrindavan, where Krishna was enjoying himself with Mother Yasoda and the gopis and so forth, all these pastimes that went on there on the banks of the Jamuna. So it was a deep, deep meditation for him. And this is in the courtyard of the Radha Damadar temple. It's between the Bhajan Kutir and the Sumadhi of Srila Rupa Goswami, the very places where Prabhupada would meditate. Before coming to America, he would sit in his kitchen, and from his kitchen you could see these Bhajan Kutir and Samadhi, and he would meditate on giving the message of Krishna consciousness to the Western people. And so here he was back with those Western people and bringing to their hearts, softening their hearts with this beautiful message of this song.
Such a meditative mood. Such a nice capture. That needs to... Actually, on that point, if you had to choose one photo that you could make life-size and hang it up on the wall, may I ask, which one would that be?
Well, probably every day there would be a different answer for that question. Prabhupada had so many moods and so many beautiful, beautiful expressions, but certainly this would be an answer for one of those days, this one here.
Yes, I would choose this one for myself. Thank you so much. And we got more, everybody. So please, so what we got next? Let's have a look.
So this is the scene at the Radha Damadar courtyard. You can see there are just a few people. And Prabhupada is speaking. A very rustic situation. There's one light bulb there suspended on a bamboo pole. And when evening came, that was the light. Now the temple has been completely remodeled, including the courtyard, so it doesn't look anything like this now. But looking at this picture, on the left side is the Bhajan Kutir of Rupa Goswami that's out of the picture, and on the right is his samadhi. So such an auspicious place at such an auspicious time with such an auspicious personality, it's beyond comprehension, really.
It's in that light bulb, such an impactful picture. How, whatever was required to preach and to share Krishna consciousness, just that one light bulb. Now we have so many things, speakers and everything. I know at Bhaktivedanta Manor, when you put on the Diwali, of course we can't at the moment, how much goes into it. And here Srila Prabhupada, in a very simple platform, with one light bulb, and just his voice, and talking to so many, individuals who are getting inspired. Wow. Amazing capture.
This is Gaurachand Goswami. I mentioned him a little earlier. He was in the photograph with Srila Prabhupada, the color photograph with Srila Prabhupada and Shamsundar and Malati. So he was the head of the Radha Damadar temple at that time. And Prabhupada is in his room, Prabhupada's room, where he stayed and translated the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam before coming to America. And he had this very animated discussion with Gaurachand Goswami. This is one of a series. And Prabhupada did not agree with him about a number of matters. And in the series that this is part of, you could see that Prabhupada is not at all pleased with Gaurachandra Goswami's direction that he's taking the temple.
Well, yes, you can see it. And at that moment, you thought, let me take a photo.
Huh?
So, at that point, it's like, when do I take a photo, when I don't take a photo? But you were just, I'm capturing all the moments, all the actions, whatever's happening. It's like you're documenting all the points. And you can see the conversation here and the way Srila Prabhupada is making a point. Wow. I've not seen some of these. This is thank you. These more detailed aspects of Srila Prabhupada. And we had one comment come in as well. It definitely doesn't look like the material world. I can imagine what would that be for all of you to be in that space with Srila Prabhupada. So this comment came in when we were seeing the one with the light bulb and then Srila Prabhupada. So I thought I'll just bring that up. So you captured it, showing us the bit of a inkling what it would be like to be in the presence of such a spiritual being. So can we see? So we got Gaurachandra Swami there, and then we've got. I think it's
to the next one.
Yes, please. Let's.
I think probably you've seen this one. Yeah.
Yes, in his room.
Yeah, that Jamuna Devi was cooking for his meals, his breakfast, lunch, and dinner at this time. This was lunchtime, and I came in and she asked Srila Prabhupada if it would be all right if I took a photograph of him as he started his lunch. So he very kindly agreed. And this is the window that I was speaking of. He looks out this window and sees the Bhajan Kutir and Samadhi of Srila Rupa Goswami. And it's this very, very view that gave him such inspiration to come to the West to preach Krishna consciousness. Very simple kitchen.
Oh, that was something. No, that you can see. It's like he's looking out, like you said, into the world. Where can I remember going to this place. For those that have been, it's quite a small little place. It's not massive, very simple, and it's such an iconic photo. This one definitely. Thank you for sharing. I've had some. There's the question came in from Chaya Patel, Chudamani Dasi, Hare Krishna Vishaka Mataji. There is an iconic photo of you next to Srila Prabhupada receiving Gayatri mantra. I'm wondering if that's in the list here. Who took this photo? She's asking, and I have it framed next to the wall clock as a daily reminder of chanting Gayatri 3 times a day, 6 a.m., 12 noon, facing east, and 6 p.m. facing north. Thanks, Chudamani Dasi. So just that picture when you took your second initiation, that was, and you can see Srila Prabhupada showing how to count. Who took that photo, if you don't mind?
That was my husband, Yadavara Prabhu, took that, and he received his Gayatri at the same time, so I took a series of pictures of him. We traded cameras and took pictures of each other receiving Gayatri from Srila Prabhupada. That was in Mayapur. That was not Vrindavan. No.
So that was in Mayapur at the time. So there we go. So, no, thank you. And maybe we'll see a few more photos that we've got here of Srila Prabhupada.
This is a morning walk, 1972. Yeah. On the far left is Prabhupada's disciple Hayagriva.
Mm-hmm.
He was an editor, Dr. Howard Wheeler. He was also a professor. He's taught English in the university. And he was there for this 1972 Kartik session. And also you can see there's several sannyasis at Chutananda with Prabhupada. It was chilly at that time, October, November, so they're quite bundled up. Everywhere he went, as long as Prabhupada's health was good, he would take a morning walk.
Morning walk.
If it was cool or hot, it didn't matter. He was very faithful to this morning walk schedule.
We because you're taking pictures, morning walk, wherever he is, that talk with the Goswami, where he's having a bit of a discussion, should we call it, on a disagreement. And the question has come: did you ever have the experience of Srila Prabhupada denying being photographed?
Yeah, there was a time we all went to Tirupati with Srila Prabhupada.
Mm-hmm.
And it was quite a long trip, a bit of an arduous trip to get to Tirupati. And Prabhupada was walking around the grounds, appreciating how well organized it was and how clean it was. And at one point, the devotees went to their different places that they were going to be staying, their different cottages. But I stayed with Srila Prabhupada, and he went behind some bushes and sat on a bench there. So I sat at his feet, ready to photograph because it was a very nice scene. And he looked at me very solemnly and he said, "Is it necessary?" And so I realized that I was just thinking about photographing. I wasn't thinking that maybe he's tired, maybe he wants a moment to relax in private. And so I kind of slunk away, feeling embarrassed, ashamed of myself that I was just thinking about photographs and not thinking about Prabhupada's comfort and pleasure.
Yeah, that's, so yes, the answer is yes. And there you go. We've had a few other questions come through, and I was thinking maybe we could see a few more of the photos. We're coming, time has just flown. We're nearly coming to the hour. It's just gone so quick. But I was just wondering, maybe we can see from the ones that you've got there, if I bring it back up, any that you want to show, maybe one or two more, if that's possible, please, Visakha Prabhu. I'll just bring that on.
Yeah. Let's see. Here we're still, here you can see the a better view of the scene.
Of the light, yes. The light bulb in the middle.
And also the samadhi in the back. And just a few devotees. There were not so many of us there. But Prabhupada was so intent on giving us this knowledge. You know, when we heard that we were going to go to Vrindavan with Srila Prabhupada during Kartik, we thought maybe we'd hear some about the private trusts of Radha and Krishna and these esoteric pastimes, intimate pastimes. But Prabhupada stuck first canto, second chapter of the Bhagavatam. He stuck with the basic philosophy that's so important to keep us rooted in Krishna consciousness, and not the more intimate pastimes that one can get into between Radha and Krishna and the gopis and so forth. So I thought that was very instructive for us.
Beautiful.
Very instructive.
And it's nice now we feel like we've been around the whole courtyard. We've seen from one side, we've seen color, we've seen it in this side. It's really nice that we can now see how the devotees were assembled, how intimate it was as well.
Very intimate and very beautiful. The trees were there and they're very thick with leaves. They offered shade. And of course the birds took advantage of them. So it's a lot of birds in those trees.
Oh. I had one comment come from Koji. She says, Koji T. Naidu, please apologize if I've said that wrong. These photos are so beautifully explained to us. Thank you, Visakha Dasi Mataji, for sharing. So thank you so much.
My honor.
So let's see, maybe we can have another 2. Is that possible? Okay. I wish we could carry on. One person's calling it a virtual parikram. You're starting us off with a virtual parikram. So there we go. We're starting a virtual parikram in Vrindavan.
So here we're seeing, again, from another view, as you say, we're different views of the same scene. This is at the end where we're offering our pranams. And this is, of course, the Bhajan Kutir of Srila Rupa Goswami. There you can see it finally. We just sit on these simple cloths, these large mats that they would put down. They weren't really mats, it was just cloth that would keep us from getting soiled as we sat on and heard from Srila Prabhupada.
Wow. And maybe we'll have the last one of the ones that you got. I can see this. We got loads. Maybe we'll do another session at some point if my Visakha Prabhu agrees. And here again, Vrindavan.
Yes, I was walking through the streets of Vrindavan. Of course, Vrindavan was so familiar for Srila Prabhupada, and it was quite new for us. So he was guiding us through the different alleyways and paths when we went to temples and went on engagements.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Today it's like we were able to connect with Srila Prabhupada in ways that we haven't before. And like we had virtual parikram. It's already started, everybody. There we go. Because of Visakha Prabhu, we have started it right now. And then Shyam Dasi is saying, awesome. Thanks for your excellent experience sharing. Hari, Hari, Hari will. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, on this. And I just want to also just put that out there that if you want to know more and see some more pictures of what's going on, 5 years and 11 months is the time Visakha Prabhu spent. And she's put these memoirs in there. So please check out her book. All you have to do is go to Amazon, type in 5 years, 11 months, and it will come up. And you'll see this iconic photo that she's got on the front that she beautifully explained earlier. But not just that. You know, if you also want to see the recollection of Srila Prabhupada in movie, then please check out. Again, where can we get the actual movie from, the Hare Krishna movie that Yadubha Prabhu and yourself have worked on? Where can we get that?
That's also on Amazon. It's also available on Amazon to rent or to buy.
So everyone, the title of it's just come out, the Hare Krishna. If you could just say the full title for me,
yes.
Please.
Hare Krishna, the mantra, the movement, and the Swami who started it all.
So please do check that out as well. All on Amazon. Amazon Ki Jai. That's what I'm going to say. At least we can get, the COVID is there, but we still get our products that we need. So this is our time. You know, we might be facing a lockdown soon again. You never know. This is a time we can do a bit more reading, get those books, get that video. And I just want to say, thank you so much, Visakha Prabhu, for coming on and taking your time out and sharing your experiences. And we're praying that hopefully you will come on again, because we only had a few we went through, and there's so much. There's a plethora of pastimes. And it must have been so difficult to choose what to show when there's so much. So I pray that you come on again, please.
Thank you.
And thank you for your time, and hopefully see you soon. If not physically, we'll see you virtually. And yeah, anything you want to leave, any realization for the audience that are listening, something for them to take home. Now Kartik started, something about Srila Prabhupada that sticks in your heart that you would like to share with everybody on starting the spiritual journey this month.
Well, I would like to express my gratitude to you, Jagannatha Kirtanananda Prabhu, for spending your time this way to bring Prabhupada disciples on so that we can all remember Srila Prabhupada's pastimes and qualities. I very much appreciate your expertise and your steadiness in this service. So thank you. My gratitude.
Thank you. That is for everyone. It was my spiritual master, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, who said this is something to do with the Mayapur TV team. So thanks to them, and I'm just the instrument in whatever they want to happen. So thank you so much, Visakha Prabhu, and thank you everybody, and stay tuned. We're gonna be again next week. Who do we have on? Drum roll. That's what I'm gonna say. And on that basis, please have a fantastic Kartik time, especially if you're taking a vrat right now. Do it. This is a time to really get closer to Krishna. And Visakha Prabhu, just some maybe a few tips or something that you think people in this Kartik month, that may be their first Kartik vrat, it might be their first Kartik month, that you just want to, what they could do for this month.
I would suggest that we all try to increase our gratitude for the gifts that Srila Prabhupada has given us, starting with the holy name of Krishna, chanting japa, chanting kirtan, the beautiful pastimes of the Lord. These things were all unknown to us. Not only didn't we know about them, we had no understanding of the value of the transformative nature of these beautiful pastimes and of the knowledge that accompanies them. So just to experience gratitude for all that Srila Prabhupada has done for us, and all that the entire world, the spiritual world, can be opened to us simply by following his very simple instructions.
Thank you so much. So let's have that heart of gratitude, everybody, for Srila Prabhupada. And gratitude to you as well, Visakha Prabhu. And we'll see you all next week. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.